Jesus said to his disciples, "Gird your loins and light your lamps, and be like servants who await their master's return from a wedding, ready to open immediately when he comes and knocks. Blessed are those servants whom the master finds vigilant on his arrival. Amen, I say to you, he will gird himself, have them recline at table, and proceed to wait on them. And should he come in the second or third watch and find them prepared in this way, blessed are those servants. Be sure of this, if the master of the house had known the hour when the thief was coming, he would not have let his house be broken into. You also must be prepared, for at an hour you do not expect, the Son of Man will come." The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Good morning.
Good morning.
In today's gospel, we're called to be faithful. So if we're going to be full of faith, it would be good to know what faith is, right? So in the second reading, Paul gives us a wonderful definition. He says, faith is the realization of what is hoped for and the evidence of what is not seen. I was a missionary in Sierra Leone, West Africa. We had great hopes, and there were many things that we saw unseen that came to be, and we knew there was a God. In about the second month that I had arrived, I was teaching in a high school, and between classes, one of the 16-year-old boys named Sar came running up to me between classes, all excited. "Sister, would you come to my village and preach to the people?" I said, "Sar, why would I preach to your people?" He said, "Because in my village, I started a Catholic church." I thought it might be good to check that out. So we set a date, left at about 4:30 in the morning, got in the back of one of those pickup trucks that you see in the movies, you know, and we went for 6 hours, and then we got dropped off, and it was a 7-mile walk into the forest. Well, that gave me plenty of time to talk to this boy, Sar, and get to know him. But what I really wanted to know was what inspired him to start a Catholic church. Well, that was when he told me about a man who came from a different tribe to live in his small village. The man's name was Francis. And so I said, because he was an outsider, we watched him really closely, and I could see that he was generous, and he was kind, and he was gentle. But what inspired me the most was, in our year, we have 2 harvest seasons. And between the harvest, there's a time when we just run out of food. And our mothers will feed the infants and the small children so that they survive. And those that are older are pretty much told, go into the forest to see what you can find. Well, Sar was a pretty smart guy. So he went into the forest, but he also went to Francis and said, "Francis, do you have any food that you could share with me?" And he said Francis would share that. And then what he realized too was that there were others who went to Francis, and Francis always shared food with them. And that sometimes Francis shared all of his food so that he himself had nothing to eat. Now this confused Sar. And he said, "Why would you do something like that?" And the answer was, "Sar, I'm a Christian. And that's what Christians do." And at that time, Sar said, "I wanted to be a Christian. And not only me, I wanted everybody around me to be a Christian." And so I started the church. Now, Sar's village is very tiny. And he said, "That's not good enough." So he went out to the 4 surrounding villages, gathered the people, everything that he learned in terms of liturgical song, prayer, at school, He talked to song leaders in the village. He had prayer leaders in the village, so that when he was away at school, the people could worship without him. They were meeting 3 times a week. They would meet in the biggest village on Sunday because it was the Lord's Day. They would go to the second largest village on Friday because that's the day that the Muslims worship. And they wanted to give testimony that Catholics also worship, even on a Friday. And then they would rotate the third day with the other 3 villages. By the time we arrived, I saw what he said I probably would. There were about 200 people gathered outside one man's house. And the song leaders started, and the people were singing, they were clapping, they were swaying with the music, and then the prayer leaders kicked in. And then I felt, in that tiny little moment of silence, Sar's elbow in my ribs. Sister, preach. In Sierra Leone, there are 16 different languages. You go down the road, you come to a different language group. I was new in the country. None of those languages are written. They're all oral. You have to be around to learn them. I had no clue what the people were saying, but I could feel the fervor in their prayer. And I said, I think God is very pleased with what you're doing. And I encourage you to continue to follow Sar's leadership. Well, at the end of the prayer, Sar told me that all 5 of the chiefs from those villages were there, and that they had anticipated that we would be hungry when we arrived, so they had a meal prepared. But Sar said, Sister, there's something that you need to know before you sit down. In my country, women eat with the children. Men gather at the table. These chiefs, not just the men of the village, these chiefs are making an exception for you. They say that you are the first white woman to make it this far into the forest to come to our village. Now, sister, you're my guest. I'm asking you, please. Sister, I'm begging you, behave yourself. At the end of the meal, I was told that the chiefs wanted to have a kind of town hall meeting for all the people. And they were wondering if I would like to be the guest of honor. I said, well, what do I need to do to be the guest of honor? They said, oh, it's so easy. Just sit there. I can do that. So the meeting starts. I see a hand raised. It's one of the chiefs. And then Sar says to me, Sister, on your feet. He's talking to you. He wants to know, would you build us a church? When I got my breath back, I could hear myself babbling. Sar, I don't know how to build a church. I don't have any money to be building a church. Look how long it took us to get here. How can I be at school and be here building a church? Please explain that to them. While he was translating, my mind came back to composure, and I remembered the answer to a question that I had asked previously about how when a person moves into a village with his family, there are no construction companies. How does the family get a house? And I was told that the head of the household hires, there's a special tribe that they specialize in climbing the palm trees. And there's a certain tree that if you tap it, there's a fermented juice that oozes out, and it packs quite a punch. They call it palm wine. And so the man who needs the house brings it down, presents it to the men of the village, and says basically, the drinks are on the house. They're on the house that you are going to help me build. And so by nightfall, the family has a house and they move in. I looked at all the people gathered at that meeting and I said, look how many of you there are. I think that if you worked together, you could probably build your church. another hand, another chief. Sister, would you build us a school? I looked at Sarah and I said, when you translated for me, what did you say? You have to tell him again. I just don't know how to do that. And while he was doing that again, I was thinking, Sarah's in high school. If this is his village, he must have gone to school somewhere close to here. Sarah, where did you go to school? And he said, well, sister, there's a school across the river on this side, and then across the river on this side, there's another school. And I went to this one. I said, Sarah, if there's already 2 schools, why are the chiefs asking for another one? He said, sister, we're in the dry season now. When it becomes the rainy season, the rains come fast. They come hard. This river swells, and then it rages, and it just comes tearing through, knocking out our bridges. There's no way that we can stop that. And then the children have to wade through the river to get to school. They have to wade through the river to get back home. And every year, there are some children who don't return because there are crocodiles in those rivers. Third hand, another chief. Sister, if we build the school like you suggest to us, would you come here and teach? I know how to teach. But I said, look, I'm talking to you and you don't understand me and you're saying things to me and I'm kind of clueless. How can I be your teacher here? Now, it took me a long time to get to that village. It seemed like twice as long going back. Because on my way, I was anticipating. On my way home, I was in dialogue with God saying, did I understand you correctly? Did you really call me to be a missionary here? Because 3 times the people asked very clearly for help, and 3 times I heard myself deny them. Well, back at school, where I knew what I was doing, about 4 months later, Sarah came to me again between classes. Sister, I was just home for the Christmas holidays, and the people were asking about you. They want to know, when can you come back again? I said, Sarah, what good would it do? I don't think I know how to help your people in the village. He said, sister, they're not asking for your help. They want to show you the church that they built. And they've started to build the bricks for the school. They've decided where they're going to put it. Come, see. I said, oh, yes, I will. And this time I was a little bit more experienced. I went to the parish priest where I worship. And I said, Father, there's a group of people in the forest who are trying their best to be Catholic. They're in your jurisdiction. Come with me and meet them. At that time, we had our prayer service in a very nice little bamboo church with a thatched roof. And then, afterwards, we had a town hall meeting. And this time I said to Sarah, when the chiefs have questions to ask, Father will have the answers. They had only one question left. When we finish our school, how can we get a teacher? Well, it so happened that the priest that I brought was the superintendent of schools. And he said, you let me know when. He sent them a young man who knew their language to be their teacher. All's well that ends well, right? What I learned is when we try our best, there's still holes in it. But God fills in and does the rest. But I have an important question to ask you about that story to see if you really understood it. And the question is, who was the missionary? I'm going to let you answer that by a raise of hands, okay? And you can raise your hand as often as you think you have the right answer. How many of you would say Sar, the young boy who gathered the people? I would agree. How many of you would say Francis, because it was Francis who inspired Sar by his example? How many would say Francis? And then how about the chiefs? Because they were the ones who asked what was needed for their people. Missionary? Okay. And then there was the day that I walked into the village and not thinking I would say anything like that, but yes, build your church, build your school. It's your faith, it's your church. How many would say I was a missionary? I thought maybe I'd see all the hands up. Well, what about the pastor who's there now? Is he a missionary? Okay. Now, my point is, when we say the missionary church, we're not talking about one person going and doing everything. If you take anybody out of the story who did their small part, the story doesn't end the same. We all have a small part to play. And sometimes I hear people saying, well, I can't do that much. You only have your part to play. And God fits your part into everybody else's part, and it all works. And so today, I want to tell you that you also are a missionary, and you're one that I call the invisible missionary, because you don't see yourself in the story, and you don't have a line to tell in the story, but you are the beginning of mission. The rest of us can't go until you do your part. And so I'm here today to invite you to be missionary in coordination with my own community, the School Sisters of Notre Dame. So I want to tell you a little bit about who we are. We were founded almost 200 years ago. And our foundress was a teacher, which was rare in that time, because at that time, almost all teachers were male, and almost all students were male. And she realized that it was utterly important that girls also got an education. She said, the mother of a family plays an important role. She's the first teacher of the children. She's the one who's in charge, basically, of the health care of the family. She's the one who needs to know nutrition to make sure that everybody's healthy and well and strong. She's the one that has to know the hygiene to make sure that people survive healthfully. She's the one who runs the budget of the family. There's all kinds of things that the woman needs to know. And if the woman of the family is strong, the whole family will be strong. And when strong families are together, they make a strong nation. And it's only a strong nation that can live in peace. We School Sisters of Notre Dame say that we try to transform the world through education. Today there are almost 3,000 of us working in 35 different countries. When we choose where to serve, we do an evaluation and we say, what's the state of education in that country? Do girls have an opportunity? What's the status of women? Is this a country where we can have a huge impact? And we always go where we think we can make the best progress. I got distracted. I hope that's an ambulance and not a fire. Today, your help with us will help the 5 countries in Africa where our sisters are serving. In that partnership, I'll tell you what we bring to the table. When we choose those countries that are most in need, they're often also the poorest. And the poorest countries are also often the most dangerous. But we will bring the sweat to get the job done. And we will cry the appropriate tears for the plight of the people. And if it's asked of us, we will give our blood. What I ask of you today There are yellow envelopes on the chairs. I'd like you to take one. Fill it as an act of faith. Faith. The realization of what is hoped for. What do you hope for? What kind of world do you envision? And help send us into the fields to make that happen. Can you do that? Amen?
Amen.
Thank you so much.
Sister, nicely done, and usually when we have a guest speaker, I'm a lifelong learner, so I always try to learn from the presenter. I really like how you work the space. Usually people tell me slow down, but I really like how you navigate the space. So I'm going to handle kind of the practical aspect, so I'll take about a minute, yellow envelopes. So if you are writing a check, make it out to Corpus Christi. Put mission on the memo line, but please use the envelope, check or cash. If you're not ready to give today, you may bring it next week, or you may go online and you can make your contribution online. But please use the envelope. We have a second offering today. The first offering is to support the faith life of Corpus Christi. The second offering is to support the missionary work of the school sisters in Notre. Okay? And I don't know if any member of the finance house is here, but I only say this once a year, and that is when we do the missionary appeal. Okay? And that is if you can only give to one offering today, give to this. Let us now stand, Professor. And together